Hey guys, what's up? So, I find myself pleasantly surprised. Remember the person that I did a video response to, like, maybe a few weeks ago, however long it's been, where I responded to the person who claimed that all wrestling companies suck now, and his major reason was because all wrestling companies support Black Lives Matter, which he labeled a terrorist group. Yeah, well, I was gonna sit down for the evening, do some reading and just wind down and eventually go to sleep. When I noticed that Dustin Nunn had done a video response to me, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I was not expecting it. I've been waiting for it for weeks, and I figured it just wasn't gonna happen because Dustin is a little slow, just to say the least. And I thought that my video did a fair job of debunking his points and responding to... I can't even really call them points. He more just recited, like, talking points and then listed them off and then didn't really give any reasons or facts to back up his points. He just kind of listed them off and then just went on to the next point. So I can barely call them points, if you want to even call what the talking points that he gave actual points. But yeah, so I mean, I figured since that's really what his videos entail, most of them anyways, from what I've seen, he probably wouldn't respond to my video just because he probably just would maybe just would wave me off or whatever, or couldn't argue my points or whatever. And I've got no delusions of grandeur. I am no intellectual giant. I'm no debate artist or any person of... I'm not anyone with a great intellect, I don't think. But if you look at this guy's video, it's clear to me that he's really acting as more of a quasi pseudo political pundit who doesn't even really go into great depth on the points that he makes. He kind of just lists them off and doesn't really go much from there. So he did a video response to me, to my response to his original video, which was why all wrestling companies suck now. And immediately I realized that you can't hear my actual video because he has his headphones in. So I literally could not hear the parts of my video that he was responding to. So I don't know what points in my video he was responding to or what arguments he was responding to. My original response video was also 22 minutes long, and his response video was 12 minutes long, which is little more than half the length of my original response video. So I'm guessing he probably either skimmed over some parts, or skipped some parts, or just stopped responding to it halfway through the video. I don't know, but yeah, so if you go and watch the response video, you'll have no idea what he's responding to. But to give you a short summary of his response video, it's basically him telling me and assuring me that Black Lives Matter is, in fact, a terrorist organization, and he implies that I have been living under a rock and not getting out of the house much, which is funny coming from him. And he said, and he's like, oh, are you not aware of the riots and everything that's going on? Dustin, I am well aware of the riots that are going on. I am well aware of the violence that is going on and the looting in the beginning. And let me tell you right now that I don't support any of it. I condemn all of it. I don't support violence. I don't support the rioting. I support peaceful protest. If all you're doing is protesting and you have your signs and you're shouting your catchphrases that you made up and you're just peacefully protesting, that's fine with me. Everyone has the right to protest. But if you are rioting, literally, robbing and burning down private businesses and stealing from private businesses, I mean, even big corporations, yes, they're big corporations, they'll be fine, they have plenty of money, they can just, they'll be fine, but I can't say that I even support that either, but whatever, I'm not as upset with that as I am with people, with some of these rioters, going into small businesses and burning down the buildings and stealing from the buildings and setting shit on fire and assaulting people. I'm not okay with any of that. I don't support any of it, and I condemn it. Again, if you want to protest peacefully and get your point across peacefully in a productive way, then I'm all for it. But if you're gonna just, go out on the streets and assault people and steal and burn shit down and burn cars and burn buildings and ruin small businesses just because they happen to be in the way, yeah, I don't support any of that, and I've never supported it from the very beginning. Now, you say that now, and I want to address, before I go on with the Black Lives Matter stuff, I want to address your point, a little point that you made about UTF. Now, if I remember correctly, I believe you actually saying in Damien Skyfire's comment session, because that's kind of how all this started, that's how I even was aware of you in the first place, you stated that you hated UTF for a number of reasons, which none of the reasons that you gave were really any reasons to actually hate a person, really. But I'm about to use the example that I'm about to use here in a bit. Well, just to give an example. But you say that hate is a strong word, and that to hate someone implies that you want to see them killed or you want to kill them. Now, if that's the case, then one, why did you claim that you hate UTF in the first place, if hate is such a strong word, and that you kind of just backed out of that point right there? And number two, just because you really, really don't like someone, or just because you hate someone, doesn't mean that you want to see them killed, necessarily. Like, for example, I hate Anita Sarkeesian. I think that she is a very toxic person with a lot of toxic ideas. I don't think she understands the field that she talks about whatsoever. I think she has a lot of terrible ideas, and I think she's an overall shitty person. Now, does that mean that I want to see her killed? No! I don't want to see her killed. I don't want to see people that I dislike or that I even hate on a visceral level. I don't want to see any of them killed. I mean, the only group of people that I can say that I want to see killed is like pedophiles or something, or child molesters, but I mean, obviously. So just to respond to that little point there, I mean, no, I mean, yes, hate is a strong word, I do agree with you there, but it doesn't always, hating someone doesn't always entail you wanting to see them killed, or you yourself wanting to kill them. Now, again, back to the Black Lives Matter stuff, you keep telling me that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization without actually giving any example. Now, you do use the riots as examples, but I don't think that now, again, I don't support the rioting. I think it's too far. I don't support it, and I'm not going to justify it by any means. But the problem with labeling it a terrorist organization is it's over dramatic to me. Okay, like you can criticize the Black Lives Matter movement for a lot of things, but calling it a terrorist organization would not be one of those things. I think that's just over dramatic. I think that's stretching things way too far. I would not call them a terrorist organization, no more than I would call Antifa a terrorist organization. Now, I don't support Antifa either. That's another group I don't support whatsoever. Now, as far as like my support with Black Lives Matter, you say that I don't talk about Black Lives Matter because I'm a chicken shit, basically. The reason I haven't been as vocal about Black Lives Matter really at all on any social media is because my feelings on Black Lives Matter are not simple at all. They're not as cut and dry as maybe a lot of other people's feelings on Black Lives Matter is. Okay? I basically have the same feelings on Black Lives Matter after Floyd as I did before Floyd. Now, the message of Black Lives Matter, I'm fine with. I think that it's a good message, and I think that it's something that needs to be discussed, on both sides. Maybe we can come to some sort of solution. Better training, proper training for, police, for the policemen, better psychological screenings and testing and whatnot, and other stuff to combat, corruption and whatnot. And as far as, because Black Lives Matter is a group that wants to address, systematic racism and whatnot in the justice system, in the police force and whatnot. And I mean, regardless of what your opinion on that is, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, it's a conversation that should be had, and maybe we can come to some compromise or some solution or common ground on it. It's what should happen, instead of, killing each other or assaulting each other or whatnot. Talking and coming to solutions is the best way to go. So, again, the message of Black Lives Matter, I'm totally fine with. It's just the actions taken on behalf of Black Lives Matter is what I don't support and what I'm not okay with, which is why I haven't really gotten on board the Black Lives Matter train. So I guess that those are my actual feelings on Black Lives Matter. The message I'm fine with. I'm all about discussing the message. The message is fine. Actions taken on behalf of the group, I'm not okay with, which is why I don't get fully behind the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, some people have said that it's just Antifa trying to make Black Lives Matter look bad and whatnot, or that it's or whatever. And that may be true, but I really think that it's probably a combination of Antifa and Black Lives Matter. I feel like they've kind of come together, and they're both kind of doing some of the looting and the rioting and whatnot. So, again, it's not the message of Black Lives Matter that I'm against. It's the actions that I'm against, and because the actions have sort of tainted the Black Lives Matter movement, I can't really get behind it. And, you know, if you find that disagreeable on my part, feel free to leave that in the comments. But labeling Black Lives Matter a terrorist organization, again, it's overdramatic. It's an oversimplification, really. You know, you can criticize Black Lives Matter like I just did, sort of, for a number of things, but labeling them a terrorist organization, putting them on the same level as the people who brought down the Twin Towers on 9/11 is a gross, just absolutely just insane over-dramatization of the group, okay? I do not think they're on the same level as people who go around on the same level as people who, you know, are bringing down buildings, killing thousands of people, and bombing shit. Okay, I mean, like, yes, you know, the actions taken on behalf of the group is pretty bad. Like, the riots are bad. Again, I've already went into all that, and again, I don't support it. I'm not behind it. But again, going as far as labeling them a terrorist organization is a bit much. It's a bit far. It's a bit overdramatic, and that was my whole point. Now, you can still assert that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. I don't care, but I would encourage you to come up with more thorough criticisms backed up by examples, and you know, sources and whatnot, rather than just sit there and kind of just like flippantly say, well, yeah, Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization, and it's true, and if you don't think it's true, then you've been living under a rock. That's basically what your whole video amounted to, is just repeating that over and over again. And I'm trying to think of another point that you made in the video, but, you know, as far as the wrestling companies go, I'm sure that most of them do have, you know, made their support for Black Lives Matter well known. I didn't want to say that they did or didn't, you know, definitely, because I hadn't actually checked, which maybe I should have done, so maybe that's my bad on that part. But I'm sure that, you know, because a lot of corporations have voiced their support for Black Lives Matter, so I'm sure that a lot of these wrestling companies have voiced their support for Black Lives Matter, and my point is, who the fuck cares? Like, really, who the fuck cares? Just because a entertainment figure or an entertainment entity, like a wrestling company or what have you, whatever else, voices their political support for something, does not mean that it somehow diminishes the quality of the actual product. You can separate the art from the artist. That was my whole point. But I'm guessing you just glossed over that entirely and didn't want to address that, because it would get in the way of your whole narrative of this Black Lives Matter as a terrorist organization thing. You know, and then, like, you apparently didn't know that Stephen King or whatever, that there was something about that. And yes, Lucha Underground did in fact go out of business. And I also just, I think it's funny that you imply that I'm living under a rock, or that I'm very ignorant is what you imply, because I guess there was a point in my video where you responded to, I must have pointed out that neither political party is innocent or something like that, more or less, and you respond with, no, Democrats are good, or Democrats are bad, Republicans are good. And it's just like, really? Like, you're implying that I'm the one that's ignorant and that's been living under a rock and that I don't get out much, and that I'm basically a sheep, when you assume that one of our corrupt parties is good. You go by this narrative that one of our parties is actually good and the other one is bad. Both of the political parties are corrupt. Both of the political parties deserve to be destroyed. Neither party is good. There's corruption. There's corruption in both parties. I can't believe I need to point this out, but you know, it's not as black and white as that. There's neoliberals and neoconservatives infesting both of the parties. Both of the parties are for their own special interests and whatnot. Most of the political candidates on both sides take money from corporations and big banks and have their donors and their special interests and whatnot. Both parties are corrupt. Neither one is good or bad. It's all about which one is the lesser of two evils right now. Okay? And I have my opinions on the Biden-Trump thing. I'm not going to get into that because I don't want this video to be too long, but, you know, I have my opinions. I'll just say that. And just a final point on the more slightly humorous side that I want to respond to before I cut this video off. You say that I need to get out of the house more. Dustin Nunn, that's very funny coming from you. Because I'd be willing to bet that you probably don't get out of your house much at all. Because you basically admitted in one of your videos to basically being a lifelong loser, essentially. Now, maybe you do get out of your house, you know, more often than I think you do. I don't know. I don't know you personally, but you don't know me personally, so I'm inclined to make the same comments towards you. So I assure you, Dustin Nunn, that I get out of my house plenty. I get out of my house plenty. And I know for a fact that I'm getting laid way more than you. Probably not the sex that you would think is okay, but still. I am one of those ones, after all, that you believe should be doused in holy water and that I will be cured of my evil homosexuality, but, you know, that's a whole nother video. Anyways, humor aside, you know, petty insults aside, I would encourage you to do better, Dustin Nunn, and maybe allow your audience to listen to the points that I make and not cover up the actual audio of the video, so you can allow me to listen to the points that you're responding to, as well as other people in your audience or outside of your audience. So that's it for this one. Peace and have a good day.